The station of the stars. RTI.
Welcome to Postcard from Poprad. Well, it's a bit muggy today. It's sort of a bit... what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they say it's going to rain. It's been beautiful. It's still quite warm here. Still quite warm, so we're okay there. I've got suntanned on my left and right kneecap. That's about it. And I'm in pain today. I've been told I must exercise, so I'm in pain today, having walked all over the garden. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, really, does it? Oh, never mind. Let's go to some sanity with the colds. Oh, poor Rachel's got a cold.
Oh, well, you know.
What is going on here?
So you can thank Rob for this, actually. It's his fault.
Is it Rob's fault?
He got sick first, and then he gave it to me. Which was rude. I would prefer flowers or something, but whatever. Gift's a gift, I guess.
I mean, Lee claims to be very young. You are definitely young.
Ish.
And I'm the one that everybody takes the mickey out of for being old. And yet, I'm the only one that's not dying.
Well, that's true. And you know what? We all look like fools now. But poor old Uncle Lee, I wonder if he's going to take the same medicinal approach as he did last week.
Probably.
And,
Drown
himself in absinthe or whatever. I mean, come on, Uncle Lee.
Well, you haven't yet. You haven't yet said why I'm so poorly today.
Why are you so poorly today, Uncle Eric?
Well, because I've been told by a flipping doctor. You know what they're like. Bless them. I better do some of those first before I get into trouble. Dave's there before they disappear off the planet. Good afternoon to Andy, to Tony, to Alan Hawkins, to Alan Croutwell. David Levine. Hello, David Levine. Blimey. Hello. How are you, mate? Mike Smith, Mike Darby. Sonia Webb is there, the lovely Sonia Webb. She's lovely.
Sonia Webb.
We like her.
We do.
Steve's there and says, afternoon. As he does very well indeed. Naomi's there, and I know he doesn't like me doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Sir Hans Knott is here.
Oh, really? Celebrity in the audience.
Celebrity in the audience, yes. And Hans Knott is just one of the people I have so much respect for all the work he's done. And Steve Melrose is there. Oh, there's some geezer called Robbie there as well.
Robbie, who's a dirty bugger.
Is he?
Yeah, he's viral. And when I say that, I mean literally viral.
Steve says, what's up with Rachel? She sounds like a politician's voice.
Oh, well, don't even start me.
No, don't. And hello to Dean as well, and more coming in as we speak. No, so I was told off by the doctor, see, and I've got to do some weight loss thing again. So I didn't do the hard work. The back garden was all... because it's a new house, they had to dig all the garden up. And take all the rocks and the stones and everything else out. And then they put 2 tons of topsoil down once they'd finished cleaning all the dirty soil up.
As you do.
Yeah. So then I've got a choice. I can either get one of those tamper things that goes and flattens it, or I could exercise. So
that's just
what
silly.
I chose to do was put my old shoes on, and it's so difficult to do it because you've got to walk on it and make it flat. But of course, when you normally walk, you take about just under a metre a stride. Doing this way round, you've got to go with your toes, and it took me over an hour of walking to flatten the garden down.
I've seen you walk for 5 minutes and just about have a heart attack.
I know, but last night I did an hour. And when Martina came home, I said, don't sit anywhere near me. I don't like the smell of me. But I'd actually flattened the whole lot down. Good afternoon to Joseph, to Ed, to Mark. Dave says, Eric and exercise does not compute.
That's not very nice. Dave is doing his best, and he did an hour. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, that's not bad, really. Hello, Peter. Now, today on Postcard from Poprad, not just now, because we've got some other bits to do first, we're going to be looking at the millions who could lose their jobs to Brexit. And nobody's talking about it.
Well, we're gonna.
We definitely are. Hello, Gavin. Hello, Peter. But first of all, we pay tribute to the people that have gone to the great maker upstairs, who look after them much better than we did down here, that's for sure. Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General. I liked him.
Me too.
Yeah, he was one of those people who just sort of did stuff, but he had something. It wasn't charisma, but he had something. And I can't explain.
He was almost regal, you know. Well, not almost. He was regal. Every time I saw him on telly, I just calmed down.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
He relaxed me. I felt like he was. I didn't have to worry when he was on the telly. I didn't have to worry about anything. He was very soothing and calm, and he was really eloquent and you know, really very statesmanly.
That's the word, statesman. He was a statesman. He was a statesman. More people join. Lee's joining us. I'll tell you why he's not here. Poor old boy is undergoing a mega dental treatment.
Yes.
Treatment? Where did that come from? And I know what he's having done because I had it done, and now he feels ever so sorry about me. Ha, ha, ha. Steve says, Dave, message to Dave. Why am I doing this? I think Eric has been replaced by an imposter. Yes. No way did Eric exercise. I have.
He did it, but as it was a byproduct of another task. Let's be honest.
This is true.
So, you know, that's not the same. It's like when I exercise, it's because I climb the stairs, and that's only because if I don't, I can't go home.
Well, I have to climb the stairs to go to bed now.
See, I've just escaped that misery. We've moved to a place where there are no stairs, so we don't have to do that anymore. We just walk to them. But if I want to get home after work, I have to climb the stairs in order to do so.
Terrible. No, the treatment does not include any alcohol whatsoever. It's gone.
Well, it's not supposed to.
No, not supposed to. Hello to Nicola, Melissa, Mark, and good afternoon, Joe. I hope you're feeling a little bit better now and getting on the mend. Poor old Joe. He knows this stuff. Chris Davison has joined us, as does Denisa and Herman and Jamie. And lots more just pouring in the door at the moment. So we'll get on because we've got some serious topics to look at on the way through. The Lazy Town actor Stefan Karl, he's Stefan, isn't it? Not Stephen. Stefan Karl has died at the age of 42 after cancer. That's so bad.
It's terrible. You know what? Cancer's just the devil. But and I don't. Nobody should get cancer ever for any reason. But I always feel sort of super sad when it's somebody who's quite young, and especially kids, but somebody quite young. And when it's after a really long battle, this guy had a really long battle with bile duct cancer, and he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer a few years ago. And then he seemed to be in recovery, but it came back in March, and then it was just a rapid decline.
Absolutely. Don't forget, boys and girls, coming up very shortly, we'll be looking at the millions of jobs that could be lost due to Brexit, and it's not the UK. We'll look forward to your comments. He was the best pantomime villain in Lazy Town. Oh, that's true, Dave. Yeah, absolutely. Eric was at his best when he wrote for teletext. Huh? You mean I've gone downhill since then? Marvellous.
Oh.
Oh, no. The Britain's Got Talent star, Antonio Popeye Francis. Now, this was a guy who used to push his eyes out of his sockets.
Yeah, that's weird.
No, and he had a stroke. And the sad thing is...
Yeah, but nobody found him for 6 days.
I know. That's horrendous.
It is appalling. I mean, I know it happens too much too, Uncle Eric. And... You know, we read about all these real gone kids all the time, and somebody's been not found for ages, and this is appalling.
I know, it's terrible. It really is. You'd think the family would have realised he wasn't there. But there you go. Tommy Peoples, who's died at the age of 70, they called him an Irish fiddle player, but do you know what? He played the violin.
Yeah, he did. My dad, who plays the violin, as you know, he didn't much care for contemporary or wackiness because I don't know why. He's just a strange cat. My dad, he loved this guy.
Yeah, I know, but he was one of those...
He's a musician. Lovely
Well,
musician.
He was one of those quintessential Irish entertainers.
Mm.
And they've just got something different. I can't kind of explain it so well, but they just have that little spark of something that no matter what the genre of music, they make it entertaining.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what it is about the Irish. They do have something really special that nobody else quite has.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
that nobody else is special. I'm not saying that at all. Please hold your letters and remarks.
No.
But there's when it's an Irish performer, the Irish have something, and I don't know what it is. It's like the French call it a je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's something special about Irish musicians.
Yeah, there is. There's just something special. Because he's not here to do it, I'm going to mention the ConsumerWatchFoundation.com.
Oh, 10 minutes. We're doing all right.
Yeah, we're doing all right. And this is a wonderful story because this week was the 50th anniversary of that evil entry from the Soviet-led invasion of what was then Czechoslovakia. As I said earlier in the week, we raised a glass to all of those that fought them. And Lee actually got hold of Tony Prince's friend from the book The Railway DJ. And Jan actually wrote this wonderful piece, which is on the ConsumerWatchFoundation.com. It is worth reading because it's actually from somebody who was there at the time. And I don't think anybody else can ever write other than the people who are there at the time. And
yeah, not in the same way, of course.
No, absolutely not. And how this guy could have gone to prison for what he was doing, i.e. just translating stuff into Czech to carry on having a bit of entertainment. Very sad story. Jan's life is actually told in The Royal Ruler and The Railway DJ, the autobiographies of Tony Prince and Jan Šestak. And you'll be able to find out more on the Consumer Watch Foundation. Please have a read. Please do have a read. It's a wonderful read, boys and girls. Jeremy Corbyn has declared class war, allegedly, on the BBC. The Labour leader wants the broadcaster to publish social rank details of employees in a bid to boost diversity and make the licence fee less posh. Jezza, you're a numpty.
He's a total numpty. I don't know what he's doing. Is he taking a handful of crazy pills?
I think he must have done. This is going to sound snobby or posh, but there is a fact of life. I am not, and I will never confess to be, even though I'm doing a show tomorrow on Saturday. When am I doing the show? Hold on a minute. Let me have a look. 1300 CET, 12 noon tomorrow. I'll be doing a music show. I am not the best music DJ for radio. I'm a pretty average club DJ, yes, but I'm not a very good radio DJ. What I do is waffle a lot on the wireless.
That's perfect.
And I'm okay with that. Now, you cannot make, I don't care whether you're black, white, green, yellow, pink or purple, you cannot do diversity in a broadcasting network. It comes with the skill set that you have. You cannot make a radio talk host. You cannot make a radio DJ. They are or they're not.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just, you cannot have, it's impossible to do an equality thing in broadcasting. It's impossible. You know, could you imagine Lee Banks wiring up a radio studio?
Oh, yes, and then it would subsequently burn down.
Correct. It's just nuts. Oh, hang on, what's this Steve? Oh, Steve started. I knew he would. No, he's not. Apparently, he's not.
He is.
He's trying to remove politics from the top of the BBC. Since Thatcher, the top people at the BBC were from the party in power at the time. Steve, you've fallen into a huge trap, mate. Have a look at Lord Hill and who he was and where he voted and which political party he was in. It was not in the current government party. He was actually a Labour Party supporter.
That never ends well.
So I'm sorry, Steve. The boss of the BBC is probably somebody who's already spoken to Jeremy Corbyn, and they probably got on really well. So no, it doesn't work like that at all. It really doesn't. So we've got this, and honestly, you cannot make people do things they can't do. Dave Rhodes, for example, he is one of the most brilliant producers of music shows you could ever get, and he's going to now
and news style Poprad shows, because he produces the heck out of us every week.
I know.
Gotta love it.
And his mix shows are second to none. But what Dave's smart about is he knows where his skill set is, and therefore that's what he does. And he's also a very brilliant cameraman, apart from when you put him on a boat. Now does
he get sick?
Well, he gets sick on a mill pond where it's flat.
I feel that.
I've watched him go green as we went out on a tender barge one day. Dave says, don't start on the boat, and then reminds me, how is your head? My head's fine, thank you. It's just other parts of my body that are failing this week miserably. So, Mr. Corbyn, don't be a plonker. You cannot do this. And if one of your advisors has done this, I would suggest that before you rant about broadcasting, you actually get somebody in broadcasting to help you understand what it's all about. All politicians do this, left and right, because one day you get the right lot saying, the BBC are biased to the left. Then you get the other lot going, the BBC are biased to the right. And, heck. Double trouble. Apparently, Dave Rhodes still has outtakes of me on video.
Doing what?
I was always perfect.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I was always perfect. Always.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Jeremy, be sensible, mate. If you want to get to the public and people that understand what really happens, for goodness sake, talk to them in a language which makes sense, because we'll drive double-decker buses through you. Because that's what we would do. I can't read that, Sonia, for goodness sake. JC is bleep. I can't say that word on the radio. Well, I suppose I could, but not this time of day anyway. Anyway, so Jezza, you should nouse a bit and stop knocking people because you think they're doing something wrong. And I'm sure you're not going to like when I have my rant in a moment either. So, don't care. First of all, though, it's Rachel's rant. Something about government changing in Australia.
Look, I'm so tired and exasperated and frustrated and annoyed. Do you recall a couple of years ago that Tony Abbott, that horrible Tony Abbott, he was rolled as Prime Minister by Malcolm Turnbull, and we the people who sit in the middle of the ideology, the moderates, we celebrated because Tony Abbott's a right wing nutbag. Plus, he's just not a nice human. He's awful. So the last week we've had another right wing nutbag by the name of Peter Dutton, who's just the most horrendous human being. He looks like a lactose intolerant bloodhound, and he's got the personality to match. He's
Could you stop doing that when I'm having a slurp of my coffee? What?
He does. He's an appalling human being, and very, very right wing, really hardcore right wing. So he decided, and he didn't decide. He was used by a bunch of other people, including Tony Abbott, that it's time to white ant Malcolm Turnbull and oust him as Prime Minister. Now, the thing about our lovely country is because we came from you fellas, we've got this Westminster system in play, which means that nobody gets to vote for anybody, really. We pick whoever we want in our local electorate, and then we're stuck with whoever is the leader of that party as the Prime Minister. Now, Malcolm Turnbull had that job, and then they voted. They had a big vote in the party room, and the right wingies lost. They lost.
What did they play?
So
80s
2 days later,
what did they play?
Back.
80s or 90s?
Sorry?
What did they play in the party room? 80s or 90s music?
Oh, I think it was 50s, or but the really bad stuff, like don't listen to rock and roll, kids, or you'll go to hell. That music.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So 2 days later, they decide, no, Malcolm Turnbull won that vote, and he's still the Prime Minister, but let's have another crack anyway. So they do, and this goes on and on and on. But today was even more hilarious because as Malcolm Turnbull, you've got to remember, is nobody's favourite person, I guess. I don't mind him, but he's no idiot. The man's a barrister. He graduated from Oxford. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He's no fool. So what does he do? He puts up one of his closest allies and somebody who is still a right-wing nutbag, but not as bad as everybody else. Scott Morrison. He said, Scott Morrison, you go in and challenge, and I won't challenge at all. I'll step down as PM. I'll resign. Blah 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 blah. So this horrible Peter Dutton goes up against Scott Morrison and loses, which is hilarious because the treacherous scumbags of the day didn't win. They didn't accomplish anything. What they have done is handed the next election to the Labor Party. They've handed it to them. They've just said, here you go, tied it up in a pretty bow, given Bill Shorten, who's the leader of the opposition, a big kiss and gone, here, you're the next Prime Minister. Good on you. So Malcolm Turnbull is no longer our Prime Minister, and Scott Morrison is. Now, Scott Morrison, let's not make no mistake, that guy's a dingaling too. He's the guy that said, don't sell cakes to, if you're a baker, don't sell cakes to gay people who want to get married. This is the sort of person that we're dealing with.
What a loony.
But the good news is, total loony. But the thing that sort of, irritated us all was that this has been going on for years. We had ousted prime ministers with Gillard, Rudd, Gillard, and on the other side of politics, in the Labor Party, and now we've had it with Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison. So the electorate's standing there going, we didn't vote for any of you people. We don't vote for the leader of your party. Only you guys can vote for the leader of your party. We didn't vote for any of you. You're all terrible.
Well, so Steve says, what has a lactose-intolerant bloodhound done to deserve being compared to him? Don't be so cruel to the dog.
That's so true. Poor old lactose-intolerant bloodhound. He's really copped the rough end of the stick. The other thing he's widely compared to is a potato, the Peter Dutton. He does look like a potato.
All right.
And he's got the brains of a potato. But, at the end of the day, it's very frustrating for us all sitting here. Can you please get on with governing the country and keep your squabbling and party politics?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, we didn't put you in your relative seats for this bickering and squabbling that's been going on for a decade. What we decided to do was have you get on with governing the country as we have elected you to do, which they can't seem to do, and that's fine. But I'm hopeful that this will trigger a general election and we can sweep these right-wing nutbags completely where they need to be, which is out of the way.
Yes, the extreme one side or the other are a bit pointless, really.
It's too much. It really is. And you know what? The hard lefter is just as bad. They're just as bad.
Both sides.
They create nothing but divisiveness and angst, and it's all filled with with crazy and negative and ignorance and hatred.
Yeah.
All filled with that.
Do you know what I think? When you get to those two extremes, wherever they are, they're so quintessentially Old English. And do you know what that means?
What does that mean?
Positively negative.
Yes, it's miserable.
It is.
It really is miserable. And I didn't mind Malcolm Turnbull because he was pretty much in the middle. He was pro-gay marriage. And do you know what the thing was that brought him undone, Uncle Eric? He was pushing for carbon emissions, a policy which would control carbon emissions. He dared to actually care about the environment. So, how dare he? But you know what? He's also a very accomplished businessman and he's very, very wealthy. So he can go home to his mansion in Point Piper, which is in Sydney. He can go home and have a big fat beer and think, well, you can all have at it.
There you go. Good afternoon to Paul and Mark and Robert. Doobly Den Hanker. There you go. Mwah, that's for Hanker. Steve reckons, sorry, mate, you blame this one. If Brexit negotiations, which brings me nicely to where I'm going, fail by October, then there might be an election here soon. I don't think so. I think the minority government will carry on regardless. Now, I'm sure if I ask Rach, she gets the same information about Brexit as everybody else. And for some bizarre reason, I was just sitting there looking at my hard work as I was walking around, my exercise work, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, this is a load of old tush that we're being fed. And we are being fed tush. Like every time. And I don't understand. Do politicians really think that we're stupid?
They care, Uncle Eric.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And then I started to have a little look around the media, and I thought, why has the media not picked up on this? And I've got to explain where I'm going with this, because when Britain leaves the EU, whatever happens, the EU is going to have a budget hole that it needs to fill up. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. There's a huge, huge hole coming up. Now, I'm going to put this in context, and just go with me for a minute, boys and girls. Don't run away. I've not gone mad. This is true. In the top 10 most booked destinations over Christmas by UK people was 10 Bruges, number 9 Dusseldorf, number 8 Madrid, number 7 Frankfurt, number 6 Berlin, followed by Barcelona, Rome, Brussels, Amsterdam and Paris at number 1. Now, to me, that's a whole bunch of European EU places, according to my calculation. Then I'm going to give you the top 10 popular summer destinations from 2018. In at number 10, Portugal. Then we've got Greece with Santorini. Then we've got Rhodes from Greece. Then we've got Amsterdam, Holland. Lanzarote, Spain. Ibiza, Spain. Benidorm, Spain. Crete, Greece. Tenerife, Spain. Mallorca, Spain. There's a sort of pattern happening here. JC cares about poor people. Tories only care about their donors. What a load of tut, Steve. What a load of tut. Actually, I think it was the last election, the Labour Party spent more advertising themselves than the Conservatives did, so that doesn't work.
I think Steve's been drinking the Kool-Aid.
I think yes. Now, a failure to reach a Brexit deal, forget anything else for a minute, on free travel across Europe will seriously jeopardise, because you know what the Brits will do? They'll go, I ain't going there if I've got to pay more money. So it will jeopardise 33 billion, can you even conceive it? 33 billion pounds spent by British tourists on the continent. There was some research came out in June from an independent source, and the study found out, seriously, tourists from the UK are worth 37.4 billion a year to the 27 remaining EU states. Now, you've got to add that with a couple of other little facts, and then we ask the question. Britons were worth £13.1 billion to the Spanish economy and had the biggest impact in Malta, where 16% of all businesses are connected to UK travel. And about 3/4 of all overseas trips by Brits are made to the EU. So that's just statistics. You can't really knock that. Then you add another one into it. The national debt in EU countries in the first quarter of 2018. That's in relation to the gross domestic product. The worst of all is Greece. We mentioned Greece earlier, didn't we, Rach?
Yes.
Several times?
Yes, Santorini in particular.
Yep. Then we've got Italy, Portugal. Oh, we mentioned them as well.
Yes, we did.
Then we've got Belgium. And
yes,
then we've
Bruce,
got...
you mentioned that first.
I did. And then we've got Spain.
Yes.
Yes. It was simple. You see, is this starting to get a pattern?
Yes.
Right. In 2018, the budget for the EU is set at 160.1 billion in commitments. That's an increase of 2%. over the budget last year. But then we come to other things. What's Steve going on about now? How did Brits cope with going abroad before we joined the EEC? Well, there wasn't any of this politics then, Steve. That's half the battle. People used to go, and there wasn't any of these trade barriers and tariff barriers and all that sort of stuff. You just got on with life. Now, this is where the whole of my thesis comes together. And I don't care about the money so much. I care about the jobs. I care about the citizens of Europe. And I don't think anybody in Brussels is giving a damn.
No.
Get this one, Rach. The numbers of jobs directly or indirectly related to tourism in Greece is 659,719 jobs.
Whoa.
And that's 16.5% of the country's total employment for last year. And the EU want to put this in jeopardy. And I'm sorry, I know Britain voted to go out, but you do a deal so that the jobs don't get hurt in Greece. Because Greece is the one that needs the help. They need the money.
Yeah, they do. They're in trouble, man.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's go to Spain. Most visitors arriving in Spain on a short-term basis were from the following countries. In reverse order, France. Secondly, Germany and the United Kingdom. Now, that's been the same for 2015, 2016, 2017. And those people amass 18 million plus people, nearly 19 million people. And I got this report, so I don't care what the politicians are saying. I got this from an independent source in Spain. Tourism has a major bearing on job creation. Tourism directly and indirectly employed 2.5 million individuals in 2015, meaning 30% of the total employment. And it continues to grow. It's much higher than the European average. That's true. But Spain need a deal to be done, and if Brussels don't do one, Brussels are the problem. Then we come to poor old Portugal, which has suffered with fires, all sorts of other things. They're strapped for cash. I should imagine they're already feeling the tourist pinch. But if it carries on, and I got this from the World Travel and Tourism Council, so, you know, I'm not saying they don't care. What I'm saying is they have no bias. And it seems, or they reported, the direct contribution of travel and tourism to Portugal's GDP was 13.2 billion euros. Now, I know not all of that comes from the UK, but a big chunk of it does. And the jobs that are at risk there, it is unbelievable. In 2017, the total contribution of travel and tourism to employment, including jobs indirectly supported by the industry, was 20.4% of total employment. That is 967,500 jobs. And by the end of 2018, they reckon it will have risen to over 1 million. So my question is this. If there's no Brexit deal, for whatever reason, and if that Brexit deal falls down, meaning that people can't use their credit cards from the UK to Europe and vice versa, if there's going to be extra tariffs on going abroad, not going abroad, and all sorts of daft things like that, not only are the EU going to suffer the loss of the revenue they get from the UK, they're also going to have to bail out these countries again who are struggling because some stubborn people in Brussels have decided that they do not wish to do a deal. So that's another chunk of money that the EU's got to get from its budget. What are they going to do? Cut the wine bill in Brussels?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No, they're not. You know they're not. The thing that is just scary about this whole business, is that you're talking about countries who are already in deep doo-doo. You've got, Greece with their austerity measures. Spain, the banks have gone bananas. Yeah, and everybody's got their own problems. But what they're doing is almost deliberately throwing people into poverty. That guy that's employed by a hotel that is there for tourists, that guy who cleans the rooms of that hotel is going to be out of work.
Yeah.
It's brutal and it's cruel. And I don't understand why people can't just figure this stuff out. Are they deliberately trying to punish people for what? What crime have they committed?
I don't know. And to add to that, I tried this morning to message many of the European Union centres and their pages on Facebook. Do you know what?
Nothing.
You can't post on them. They're blocked.
Oh, that's so democratic.
Yeah, so democratic.
Jeez.
So what I did was I was very naughty on Facebook. Facebook, I apologise. I posted it in a comment. And I invited them to come along. They know how to find me. It's not rocket science. Have they bothered? No.
No.
And I know why they haven't bothered. Because they don't want anybody to know about it. They're only saying Britain's the problem. Now, I'm not saying Britain is absolutely shiny, clean, whiter than white, because it isn't. There is an argument between the two groups. And when you have an argument, you have to find compromise. But the fact is, the EU have got to find, or potentially find, another nearly £40 billion from their budget when the UK leaves. So that means that they're up to nearly 60 billion in total with the loss of income and the loss of trading, notwithstanding everything else. So what I don't understand is why both parties are not bending over backwards to solve the problem. I don't get it. And I'd like somebody to tell me.
Maybe everybody's thinking it's not my problem. But it's everybody's problem. Anybody who's got a hand in this has now got the problem.
Well, I'm not going to use the phrase "blood on their hands," but whatever the simile is for this, Brussels, you guys, you have got to wake up and smell the coffee. This is nothing to do with me being English or not being English. I am a broadcast journalist. I look at facts. And I have just read you guys the facts. If there is no deal, European citizens in some of the poorest countries in the EU potentially will lose their jobs because you don't come up with a deal.
And then you've got what the Brexit people fear the most is you've got immigration.
Yeah.
Right there, because they're going to try and come to the UK or anywhere else where there's money and park themselves there. And that's what the Brexiters, one of the key things Brexiters don't want to see.
Hang on a minute. Steve reckons it's because the rich don't want to deal.
What?
They could earn more money through roaming charges and credit card charges. No, Steve, that's just nuts. It's nothing to do with the rich. The people, okay, if that's the case, look at the people negotiating the EU stance and tell me that they are in business. Well, that is the problem. They probably have never been in a proper business or a proper job, so they don't know how to run a company, because the EU is nothing more than one of the largest companies in the world. It's a company. It's a membership. It's a club. It's a company. So it's got nothing to do with the rich, because if that's the case, then the president of the EU sits on the side of being one of those rich geezers you don't like. So it can't be true. Yeah. What is really the case is if the Greek economy goes down again, what happens? Germany has to step in, other people have to step in, and therefore they can keep control of Greece. The same happens with Spain. The same happens with all the poorer countries. They have to go cap in hand to Brussels.
Yeah.
Now, I cannot buy that. I really can't buy that because, there cannot be a rich and poor scenario as to who's doing what. It's rather like Jezza's situation with the BBC. It's the same all over again. You cannot have the wrong people doing the wrong jobs. And what you've got at the moment is a president. I never voted for him. Never. He was voted in by the people who are in Parliament in Brussels. Now, okay, you can take that as okay. But, the facts are that the EU are blocking a deal because they won't move a little bit. Now, I'm not saying they should move bucket loads or miles or hundreds of miles, but the fact just wiggle a bit. And Steve's having a go again at me. I don't mind. Good old boy. I don't know about the EU side, but the Brits are in bed with big business who can charge more when we go abroad. No, it will stop people going abroad, Steve.
It will.
Your average person won't go abroad. They will stop going. And if there is a no Brexit deal, the people who will really win, you watch, the tourism sector in the UK will go up monumentally. Because people will
nobody's going overseas.
No, they'll go
staying home.
Cornwall will be, like the south of France. It'll be so busy. It'll be so busy. So in actual fact, all these arguments about businesses winning out of Brexit is a non-starter because the big businesses will not get that type of benefit from it. If anything, businesses will suffer big time. And a lot of businesses will just move out of the UK. So in actual fact, the EU are probably going to drag jobs out of the UK because they don't want to deal. Hey, look, they're going to get more jobs. So whichever way it goes, there has to be a discussion between Brussels and the UK, which makes heaps of sense. Slovakia does business with the UK. It does. And it will carry on doing it with or without the UK, the EU.
But it can. Now, it's juxtaposed so that it can, and Slovakia is a really cool place where you don't have the same economic woes as other members of the EU, and that's cool, and that's awesome for Slovakia. But that's why you can do business with the UK. Spain and whatnot can't do business with the guy down the road selling apples. It's horrendous to watch.
Well, actually, there's another funny part to it, that if there isn't a Brexit deal, the current profit of trading that France has, so it's in trade profit at the moment, will actually go to trade negative because they couldn't trade with the UK.
Well, this is funny, because our Australian trade to the UK, with the UK, got absolutely poleaxed. But when you guys joined the EU, it blocked our trade with the UK, and now we have got we're going to have open channels of trade. So it's great gangbusters for Australia.
Absolutely.
But at what cost? At what cost?
Well, I hadn't thought of that actually, Rach. Very good point. The fact is that in my opinion, it should be called EU PLC because that's what it is. And they should trade not by the stick, but by the carrot.
Yes.
So if they want people to trade with them, they should encourage it. What they're actually doing is blocking people rather than incentivising people because they think that it's going to make a difference. Now, in Australia and New Zealand, it's going to make a huge difference.
Massive.
And
in a good way.
Yep. So you're happy.
I in my own self, I think, the whole Brexit thing was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But economically, it's really sound for us.
Yeah. I think the whole Brexit thing was stupid as well, but that's not the story. We have the British electorate voted, and that's the end of it, and so we have to respect that fact and get on with it. Now, and again, I don't have a problem with this, boys and girls, because, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. I can apply for Slovak residency now, and I'll be granted it. So I can have an EU passport. But I can also keep my British one as well. so I can have both. I haven't got a problem.
Yes.
So, like, why do I care? It doesn't cause me a problem whether you go or stay. It's not for me, this. It's for the citizens of Europe who can least afford to lose their jobs. Not about me. And I don't know why nobody's actually talking about it. And it is ridiculous to say, nothing's going to happen. It's like yesterday, the UK government put all these papers out, and I think that was a bit of poker playing. That was playing poker. It was just, a bit of one-upmanship on their side. They got in first. And I think the funniest one was, if you want to find out what happens between the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, you have to ask the Irish government.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a stupid thing to say in one way, but in another way, it makes a huge amount of sense because ain't the UK's problem if there's going to be a border there or not. If they want to put one there because the EU forces them to put a border, then so be it. It's their problem.
Yeah.
The next thing that comes up, and I'm sure Rachel will tell me I've said this before, once this happens, or before it happens, what's going to happen to the German car market? With nothing to do with tourism. They've got 250,000 people in the car industry that rely on the UK. They do. Who's going to pay their jobs then? Yep. What's that? So you have been warned. Have a great weekend, everyone. Kisses from Sonia. Of course, it's a bank holiday in England next Monday, isn't it? So everybody's having the week off. Marvellous. Sonia has to leave now. Bye-bye, Sonia. But she's going to listen to the whole show later. You have been warned.
Okay.
Don't say anything nasty about Sonia later, will you?
No.
Pat's joining the conversation, so hello, Eric, as has Rudy as well. Rudy James is there. So, just to wrap this up so we get on to some more news rather than everything else. Please, Mr. Brussels, you really ain't gonna win. London, you ain't gonna win. Neither of you are gonna win. None of you. Because unless you talk to each other and do something, both of you will lose. There will be no winners. You might think you've got some moral high ground victory. In actual fact, you won't. Because although they're going to make stockpiles of medicines in the UK, it won't take 5 minutes before somebody sets up a factory in a non-EU country that can trade with England quite quickly, and they go, don't worry about it. We'll nick all that business from Europe. Thank you very much. There you go, UK. There's your medicine.
We'll have it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
We'll have it, and you know why? Because we can.
Yes, and you might have to order it a week in advance of normal.
Yes.
No one's going to care. Oh, Steve, please. Tesla will put the German car makers out of business.
Oh, stop.
Stop.
No, he won't. He won't. They know where to plug them in.
And he wants to get Corbyn in, then we'll get another referendum and people might change their minds. Steve,
no, they won't.
It's like Scotland. You can't keep having referendums until you get the answer you want.
No, the point of a referendum is for people to decide, and they've decided.
Yeah, it's like when a child says to a parent, I want one of those, Mum, and Mum says no. And the child goes, I want one of them, Mum. No. I want one of them, Mum. No. It never changes.
No, all you look like is a child having a tantrum.
Correct. That's all it is. Now, I'm not saying the vote was right or wrong at the beginning. In actual fact, I think if people had the real facts, the vote would have been in a different way. My opinion. I think the vote would have been to stay. But because there wasn't the facts done properly, because neither side told the whole truth, people got completely lost.
Yep.
And Pat says, I voted in, but we voted out. And we must go with it. I quite agree, Pat.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Pat. That is the way. That's what democracy is all about. You can't just say it's like that woman in Scotland who goes, "Oh, I'm going to have another referendum to leave the UK." You lost. What are you going to keep doing? Oh, excuse me. It's going to be like one of those things at school, isn't it, Rach? Where they say, "Oh, actually, nobody won. You're all winners."
Yeah, you all get a participation medal. Nobody celebrates mediocrity. If we all celebrated mediocrity, Trump would be president forever.
Yep. Steve says exactly. Now people know they were lied to. We should have another vote. Steve, it was equal on both sides. So both sides are guilty of not telling the whole truth, the way it should have been explained. Therefore, that knocks each other out. So it's tough luck. The vote remains. You just cannot shift it.
It's like every single vote on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Every side is pushing their own agenda, and they omit what they want to omit, and they include what they want to include. They sing a song that suits them.
Correct.
And they sing a song that they think is going to sucker you, Joe Public, into voting for them. And that is the whole point.
Yeah. Dave says, no one knew what was going to happen. And they still don't. You're absolutely right, Dave. There is a lot of people guessing, and that's the problem. Yes! Hello! Sanity returns.
Eric's just explained in some great length what a portion of what's going to happen, and it all sounds very bleak to me.
Well, yeah. And Pat adds, it was decided on personally rather than the facts, like America.
The personality, absolutely, just like every other thing. I 100% agree. Pat's a legend, because it is true. Many people who don't understand what they're hearing will go, I'm going to vote for this because he looks like a good bloke.
Yep.
Or I'm going to vote for that. I'm not going to vote for that because that guy looks like a lactose intolerant blood.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It's all on personality.
Well, dare I say Trump?
Yep. He appealed to the Rust Belt. He appealed to the disenfranchised, middle American. And they bought what he was selling. And they loved the ranting and the let's build the wall. They love it. That's how he got in.
Yeah, because he was actually repeating. In fact, he was doing the cardinal sin. He was telling people what they wanted to hear.
Of course.
And that's what
happened.
happened.
Rule one of politics.
Yep. And to prove the point even further, people have been saying to me recently, but all the free trade will go. Hello? What free trade?
Right. There's no such thing as free trade.
No. I mean, most of you know I was bought a lovely birthday present from Jan, which is a beautiful trike motorcycle. And I'm still jumping through hoops to allow me to ride it in Slovakia.
Yeah, the paperwork alone is going to bury you.
Yes. Because there is no... I can't just bring a car here and register it, because it's not possible to do it. It's against the law.
What the delightful Uncle Yan has actually bought you is an ornament.
Well, it's getting closest to not being an ornament. Apart from the logical things that one does, which is like changing lights and moving them from left to right and doing logical things. The paperwork, every piece of paperwork has to be translated into Slovak. Now, everybody tells me the EU's main language is English. Well, that don't work to start with.
No.
I am the bloke suffering at the moment because there is no free trade. If there was free trade, I could bring the bike from the UK, pop it here and say to them, right, you can check it over if you want, no problem whatsoever, but I've got an MOT, it's quite valid. And so I'll give you the British plates back. You give me some Slovak ones. Job done.
Sorry, your paperwork doesn't exist in our country. You have to create new paperwork.
Correct. And it's not dissimilar in Australia, is it?
No, it's really not. And because we are far, far away and basically sort of isolated from that sort of part of the world. Our rules are just tipped on their head.
Yeah. And
there's no, I mean, the hoops and the jumps that you have to go through just to leave the country. There's, you guys talk about, that you're not going to go abroad for your holidays anymore. Do you understand that how close it is for you to go abroad for your holidays and you don't have to deal with the paperwork and whatnot? And at the moment, to be fair, Neither do we, because all those countries in Europe, or most of them, are all in the Shenzhen province, which means we don't have to have visas. But still, it's a monumental task to get out of Australia and go anywhere. And it's the same as bringing in stuff. Our import-export is really complicated, and it's complicated for a reason.
Yeah. Steve's asking, is it a modern bike or a classic one? It doesn't make any difference, Steve. None whatsoever. You cannot do it.
Curious.
And if it's a right-hand drive vehicle and not a classic, then you can't register it at all. They won't let you.
I don't even. No, I'm not going to ask that question. I'll open a whole new can of worms, and we've still got other things to do.
Oh, I know. Naomi says probably safer for you and Slovakia. There are so many hoops to jump through. Ha ha. I tell you what, I'm so safe. I've broken half the bones in my body. And there you go. But we're not going to have time to talk about the ex-wife of Albat the Roo, but do be warned, some nasty people rented a room from her, and they've been flogging it on Airbnb for a load of money, and the police can't do anything to get these folks out, and they've actually advised her to leave her house because it'll be safer for her.
It's frightening, that whole Airbnb thing, that it's just governed by nothing, and they're not, and nobody's protected. It's tread carefully if you're going to get into the Airbnb area. It's a really dicey business, and I mean it happens here all the time. You see people renting out houses and they've been completely trashed, and people have got very little recourse.
Absolutely. And I'm desperately trying to find something nice to finish on, but I can't. But I can. I'm not going to do this, but apparently the pill that stops you getting fat has been found.
Please don't start me on this. I really wish you'd finish with something else. You know what?
Do you know what?
These days are the magic pill for everything, and this is no different. Although it doesn't. Exercise is what stops you being fat. There's no magic pill for anything. They'll soon discover that there's some nasty side effect or other with this particular pill. There's no cheat way to being thin. You have to eat right and exercise, and that's all there is to it. It's not rocket science.
No, it's not at all. It really isn't. Anyway, presumably you're going to be exercising this weekend then?
Well, sort of. Oh. I mean, not really, because I've got this cold. But I do have to get up at God knows and go to work tomorrow.
No!
That's a little bit of exercise, yes. But that's okay.
Do you have a bank holiday on Monday?
No.
No, we don't either.
We don't have one for a while. And I think the next one that we have is for that stupid reason, because Daniel Andrews, the Premier of Victoria, is an idiot. He gave us a holiday for a stupid parade for a stupid football grand final. That's when we have our next public holiday.
For football?
For a parade that takes
parade?
He gave us a holiday because nobody attends the parade because it is on a Friday. It's the day before the grand final, and the two teams that are playing in the grand final are in a parade, and they go around the city of Melbourne, and nobody was turning up because we all work for a living. So he's given us a public holiday, which has thusly crippled every small business in the CBD because they now have to pay penalty rates to their staff for working on a public holiday. The man's a buffoon, and don't worry, he'll be ousted in November, and I'll see to it.
Why can't they have the parade on the Saturday morning before the game?
Because they're all in the locker room getting dressed.
Or getting drunk?
Before the game, no.
No, I mean... not.
Although the way, for all the sense that game makes to me...
Is this Australian football or soccer?
Australian rules football. Aerial ping pong.
One day, Rob has got to come in here and explain that to me.
I don't think anybody knows. I think it's a mystery. He will explain it to you. He does enjoy it, bless him. I think it's a load of twaddle, but it's sport. You know how I feel about sport.
Last message for you. At least it's the Belgium Grand Prix this weekend. Something else for Rachel to ignore.
Oh, yes. So much to ignore in the world of sports-wise, and that's just but one of the... See, I didn't even know about it. Was happy to ignore it. Thank you for ruining that for me.
And hello to Livia. Bonjour la France. Because she's in Paris. And with that, we have to say goodbye, Rach.
Goodbye, Rach. Goodbye, Uncle Eric.
Thank you. See you in a moment. That was Postcard from Poprad. Very different this week because I needed to get that information out to you guys so you know the truth. And I make no apologies for it. People have got to start talking in this world, or it ends up like everything else, a big bun fight. And do you know the only people that lose? The people at the bottom of the ladder. The people at the top, like the president of the EU and the negotiators, they don't suffer. It's the normal people. That's it from me. See you next week. Have a lovely week. Steve's up next here on RTI.